Welcome back to Benny's Custom Works, proudly supported by Valvoline and Sparesbox. Don't forget Benny 5 on checkout. This week we're at a completely amazing location. We're here in Pikes Peak in Colorado. For those of you not familiar with the location, it's a massive hill climb circuit for a couple of weeks of the year. Much like Bathurst in Australia, it's a public road, but it's closed for motorsport a couple of times a year. So we're fortunate enough to be able to come out here today and actually run up the pike. Obviously not fast, we're just going to cruise up at gentle road pace because it is a public road. We've got 2 hours to basically go to the top, check out the scenery and come back down. So yeah, it's pretty awesome to be able to actually take this car up the hill, do another bucket list item, and yeah, be able to do it with Dad and Maddie's pretty cool. So yeah, we're going to run up the hill, load up the car with some GoPros, and hopefully be able to give you guys a bit of a bird's eye view of what the mountain looks like going up it. The one thing I will say though, squirrel, is that you cannot actually understand the slope of the mountain. So when we're going up the hill, it's just going to look completely different to what we're actually experiencing. So yeah, the thing is literally like that. So yeah, I hope you guys really enjoy it. I don't actually know what the episode's going to look like yet. Squirrel's still there. But yeah, it's going to be pretty cool, I think, to be able to, well, for us to be able to experience it, and hopefully for you guys to be able to follow along and enjoy it with us. So we're going to load up the car and head up the hill.
Made it to the top.
Well, we've made it to the very top of Pikes Peak. We've made it to the summit. It's pretty exciting. It's breathtaking. Like, literally, I can't explain the view. Like, it's breathtaking physically and visually. Like, I've never been this high without being in a plane, and you can genuinely notice it's hard to breathe up here. It's a bit of a sort of surreal experience, but yeah, being able to come up to the top, to the summit, to be able to check this place out, it's pretty impressive, and yeah, like a lifelong sort of dream. Like, I've been watching Pikes Peak videos for years, and actually being able to come here and check it out, even playing Gran Turismo, running the Escudo up the hill, back when the top section was still dirt. So that was pretty cool, being able to actually drive the same road we used to play on Gran Turismo when I was a kid. So yeah, it's a pretty amazing thing, but we're pretty much going to turn around and go back down the hill now. So enjoy the view on the way down. We've been on the top of Pikes Peak, and unfortunately the wind noise is pretty hectic, but we just absolutely couldn't get away from it. We're on the top of a mountain 14,000 feet above sea level, so you've got to expect there's going to be some wind noise. That being said, if you didn't catch the chat, it was mainly about just the fact that I've been watching Pikes Peak videos, playing Gran Turismo, Gran Turismo 1 and 2. Dad and I used to battle up Pikes Peak when the top half was still dirt. In the Suzuki Escudo, that anyone who's played Gran Turismo will know exactly what I'm talking about. But yeah, it was a pretty awesome experience to actually be able to go up to the top of Pikes Peak, experience the whole atmosphere of it. Unfortunately, it was a little bit overcast where we were shooting, but some vantage points, there was just amazing views. But unfortunately, because there was good views, those areas were full of people, so which made it pretty well impossible to film anything there. But yeah, it's such an amazing experience. If you're in the general area in Colorado there, I would 100% recommend to go up there. It is quite a popular tourist attraction. There was a lot of people up there, but yeah, there's plenty of space up the top of the mountain. There's tons of parking. You can park about 400 cars up there. So yeah, it's an amazing experience and I highly recommend it. You do need to book a ticket and they give you a 2-hour window. However, they are fairly relaxed with it. We actually missed our original window to go up the mountain, and yeah, the woman at the gate was super friendly. She was like, yeah, don't worry about it. Like, it's more of a guide than a rule. So yeah, they allowed us to go up the mountain. We did run out of brakes at one point. Not to the point where we were going to go off the edge of the mountain, but we definitely lost brake pedal and the fluid did get really hot. Unfortunately, the Cresta just has absolutely no engine braking at all, and we were kind of caught in a train of traffic, and I would have probably rolled down the mountain a little bit quicker than what they were doing just to try and conserve brakes, but because we were in that train, it just cooked the brakes. And luckily there is a checkpoint about a third of the way down the mountain once you get back into the tree line where it flattened down a bit. And they do have all sorts of fluids, not just brake fluid, but they do have like a basic toolkit they allow you to use as well. And they also, to their credit, they don't gouge you on parts prices. So a bottle of brake fluid I think cost us $5 or something, and it was like nearly a 2-quart bottle, like nearly a litre bottle of brake fluid. So yeah, that got us out of trouble. I think we ended up bleeding the brakes a couple of times after that because the fluid, because we had no tools and no jacks or anything. The wheelwood calipers that are on the Cresta, there's a bleed nipple on the inner and the outer side of the caliper. We could only reach the inner bleed nipple on the mountain. So we bled, obviously, as much fluid as we could through it, but being that you can't cross the fluid across the caliper, basically it meant that we still did have some bad fluid on the outer side of the caliper. The next day when we were changing the gear position sensor, we re-bled the whole thing again, which made the brakes much better. Once it's back here, obviously we're going to go right through the car and give it a full service. But yeah, all that sort of stuff will be taken care of again. And we'll put some Quality Motorsport Valvoline VR1 brake fluid back into it. From memory, the fluid in it was actually quite old anyway, which is probably a little bit of an oversight on my part. You guys probably would have actually seen it in the video of us going up the mountain. There's an E36 BMW broken down. He's actually also another Rocky Mountain Race Week competitor. And I mean, it's worth mentioning that we haven't obviously started the event yet. This is in the lead up to the event. He looked pretty well sorted when we were going up the mountain. He didn't wave us down or anything, gave us the thumbs up, so we went past. But we were on the top of the summit for probably a good 45 minutes and he was still there when we came back down. So we actually stopped, and I think he was actually genuinely suffering from a lack of oxygen. His thought process wasn't great. We kind of gave him a bit of a hand as far as just sort of some logical thinking. I think what actually happened was the car was struggling with the altitude, and he was playing around with tunes and different fuel pressure, and he thought he'd lost the fuel pump. And in the end, he actually loaded the original tune back in, as far as I can remember, and the thing fired right up. So I guess a bit of an eye-opener on what a lack of oxygen can do to you. He was actually on the mountain for a lot longer than we were, so I would hazard a guess that they were probably sitting in that spot broken down for a good 2.5 hours. And fortunately, his co-pilot had got a lift to the bottom of the mountain and had come back up, and he'd arrived not long after we left. We actually caught up with him on day one at race week, and yeah, he was all sweet and the car was good. So yeah, I guess all's well that ends well in that particular scenario. But it was a bit of an eye-opener on what lack of oxygen can do to your brain and your thought process. Well, we finally made it back down the mountain. It was extremely challenging coming down the hill. One thing to keep in mind, particularly with Pikes Peak, it's 14 miles downhill. So it's really important to actually sort of manage your braking, and unfortunately the Cresta has 0 engine braking, so at one point we actually did get the brake fluid pretty warm. There's a station about a third of the way down after the first major big slope. Actually have very basic tools and brake fluid for sale there. So fortunately for us, we were able to buy the fluid and obviously use their equipment. So thanks to the guys running the hill, the stop halfway up the hill, because without them, we're probably waiting for a tow truck, because you can't take trailers up the pike. So we basically had no tools or equipment with us at all. So yeah, definitely something to keep in mind. But we're pretty much going to pack up now and head to Pueblo. So we'll keep on trucking it there, and we'll start preparing the car for Rocky Mountain Race Week 2.0 2023. Let's get it. Well, we didn't actually film a whole lot last night with mucking around with the car. We ended up changing the transmission position sensor. Unfortunately, the wire had actually rubbed through and did all sorts of funky stuff with the ECU, so we lost our shift strategy and a few other things. So yeah, we actually replaced that last night and we've made it to the track this morning. So stay tuned for our race week series because it's about to kick off as well. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.